That bottle of sunscreen sitting on your bathroom shelf right now, the one you grabbed off a CVS end cap before a beach trip, the one your kids trust you to spray on them before they run into the water, may contain a chemical that the World Health Organization classifies as a Group 1 human carcinogen. I spent 11 weeks tracking exactly when these companies knew about the contamination, what they changed, and what they quietly kept the same. I pulled FDA recall documents, independent laboratory testing reports, ingredient databases, and corporate acquisition filings going back 40 years. And I can tell you that 5 of the most trusted sunscreen brands in America are not going to like this video. Before we go anywhere, I want to be clear about something. The sunscreen debate you've probably seen online, chemical bad, mineral good, is oversimplified, and I'm not going to do that to you. The real story is about contamination, corporate decisions made after the contamination was discovered, and ingredients that the FDA itself has not confirmed are safe for human bloodstream absorption. Those are 3 very different issues, and they are all happening at the same time inside the products on your shelf. Let's start with the first brand. Brand number 1, Neutrogena, the scientific betrayal. When Benjamin Fishbein and Lloyd Kotzen founded Neutrogena Corporation in Los Angeles in 1954, the original product was a translucent amber soap that left no residue and was gentle enough for sensitive skin. Kotzen, a Harvard Business School graduate who joined the company in the early 1960s, built it from a regional curiosity into a dermatologist-recommended brand by doing something no competitor was doing. He marketed to doctors first, consumers second. By the 1990s, Neutrogena had built its entire identity around the phrase recommended by dermatologists, and it had genuinely earned that reputation. In 1994, Johnson & Johnson acquired Neutrogena Corporation for approximately $924 million. At the time, Johnson & Johnson was already one of the largest consumer health conglomerates on earth. Neutrogena's sunscreen line grew under that umbrella and became the top-selling sunscreen brand in the United States by the 2010s. Then, in May 2021, an independent laboratory in New Haven, Connecticut called Valisure tested spray sunscreens and found benzene in samples of Neutrogena aerosol products. Benzene, not a sunscreen ingredient, a byproduct of the propellant system used in aerosol cans. The World Health Organization does not set a threshold for safe benzene exposure because it is a known human carcinogen linked to leukemia and other blood cancers. The FDA states there is no acceptable level of benzene in drug products. 0. That is not a consumer advocacy position. That is the agency's own published standard. On July 14, 2021, Johnson & Johnson issued a voluntary recall of 5 Neutrogena aerosol sunscreen product lines: Neutrogena Beach Defense Aerosol, Neutrogena Cool Dry Sport Aerosol, Neutrogena Invisible Daily Defense Aerosol, Neutrogena Ultra Sheer Aerosol, and Aveeno Protect Plus Refresh Aerosol. All lots, all sizes, all SPF ratings. Here's what I want you to sit with. This recall covered products that had been on shelves and in your bathroom cabinets for years before that notice went out. Most people used them up long before any recall communication reached them. Your family applied it at the pool. Your teenagers used it before outdoor events. The company says they received no adverse event reports, but benzene-linked leukemia does not appear in 6 months. It appears in decades. Beyond the benzene issue, Neutrogena's core chemical formulas rely heavily on ingredients that the FDA placed in a regulatory holding category in 2019 that I want you to understand precisely. The FDA proposed that only 2 sunscreen ingredients, zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, are generally recognized as safe and effective, which the FDA abbreviates as GRASE. 12 other ingredients, including Oxybenzone and Avobenzone I, both found in standard Neutrogena formulas, were classified as needing additional safety data before the FDA would confirm their status. That is not the same as declaring them dangerous, but it is the FDA saying, we do not have sufficient data on what happens when these chemicals absorb into the human bloodstream, and absorb they do. A 2020 study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that oxybenzone entered the bloodstream at concentrations 180 times higher than the FDA's threshold for automatic safety clearance. The FDA's own scientists ran that study 180 times over threshold, and the product remained on shelves. You were applying a product carrying a dermatologist recommendation badge made by a company owned by one of the world's most powerful pharmaceutical corporations, while that corporation's own government was saying the active ingredients need more safety research. That is not a rumor from a wellness blog. That is an FDA regulatory document with a date stamp. Brand number 2, Banana Boat, the repeat offender. Banana Boat was born on the beaches of Florida in 1976, founded by Sun Products Inc. With a specific identity, it was the sunscreen for people who actually lived outside. It sat in every beach shop, every drugstore near a lake, every gas station in a coastal town from Key West to the Jersey Shore. It became part of the American summer in a way that very few products ever manage. By the mid-1990s, Banana Boat had become synonymous with the smell of summer itself. Today, Banana Boat is owned by Edgewell Personal Care, and Edgewell is not a sunscreen company. Edgewell Personal Care is the corporation that owns Schick Razors, Wilkinson Sword, Playtex Tampons, Carefree Feminine Care, Hawaiian Tropic, and Wet Ones hand wipes. They are a personal care goods manufacturing conglomerate headquartered in Shelton, Connecticut. Personal care goods companies do not acquire beloved American beach brands because they love summer. They acquire them because the gross margin on aerosol sunscreen is exceptional, and the brand recognition requires almost no advertising investment. That is the math. That is the only math that drives these decisions. In July 2022, Edgewell issued a voluntary nationwide recall of Banana Boat hair and scalp sunscreen spray SPF 30 after an internal review found that some samples contained trace levels of benzene. The benzene was not a listed ingredient. According to Edgewell's own statement, it came from the propellant system used to spray the product from the can. Then, in January 2023, 6 months after the initial recall, Edgewell expanded that recall to include an additional lot code, 20301CF, with an expiration date of September 2023. Read that again. A product that was still sitting on store shelves with a future expiration date was being recalled for benzene contamination. Retailers were still selling it. The expiration date said it was still good. The carcinogen in the propellant did not care about the expiration date. The standard Banana Boat sunscreen lotion SPF 50, the lotion, not the spray, lists oxybenzone as its second active ingredient at a concentration of 4%. The American Academy of Pediatrics has specifically recommended that parents avoid sunscreens containing oxybenzone on children. Hawaii and several other U.S. states have banned oxybenzone from sunscreens sold within their jurisdictions because of its documented toxicity to coral reefs and marine ecosystems at measurable concentrations. Edgewell has access to the same American Academy of Pediatrics guidance that you do. They chose to keep oxybenzone in the formula because reformulating to a different active ingredient system is expensive, and the existing formula clears the minimum FDA threshold. Your child's skin is not a cost-benefit calculation, but for a conglomerate managing 27 brands across 4 product categories, that is exactly what it becomes. Brand number 3, Coppertone, the American icon sold twice. Coppertone is the oldest sunscreen brand in the United States. It was founded in 1944, not by a corporation, but by a Miami pharmacist named Benjamin Green, who had developed early sun protection formulas for American soldiers during World War II, specifically to protect troops from intense tropical UV exposure in the Pacific Theater. Green's original formula was a red veterinary petrolatum. After the war, he refined it into what became Coppertone suntan oil. The little girl with the puppy pulling down her swimsuit became one of the most recognized advertising images in American commercial history. That image was not selling a product, it was selling a memory. By the late 1990s, Coppertone had passed through several ownership structures and landed at Schering-Plough, the pharmaceutical company. Schering-Plough merged with Merck in 2009. Then Bayer, the German pharmaceutical and agricultural chemical company that also manufactures aspirin and Roundup herbicide, acquired Coppertone from Merck's divested assets in late 2014. Then, in May 2019, Bayer sold Coppertone to Beiersdorf for $550 million. Beiersdorf is a German consumer goods company headquartered in Hamburg. You likely know them as the maker of Nivea skin cream. A German skincare corporation now owns the brand that a Miami pharmacist built after World War II. Beiersdorf did not acquire Coppertone because they care about protecting American families from UV damage. They acquired it because sun care generates roughly $2 billion annually in the United States, and Coppertone's shelf presence in American pharmacies and grocery chains gives them instant market position that would cost years and hundreds of millions of dollars to build from scratch. Here is what the current formula looks like after all those ownership hands. The current Coppertone Sport SPF 50 lotion lists Avobenzone, homosalate, octosalate, octocrylene, and oxybenzone as its 5 active ingredients. That is 5 chemical filters in a single product. Homosalate, one of those 5, was flagged in peer-reviewed research published in 2025, specifically raising concern that it may interfere with estrogen, androgen, and progesterone activity in the body. The FDA has not confirmed homosalate as GRASE, 5 chemical filters, at least 2 of them without confirmed safety status, made by a company that passed through a pharmaceutical giant, an agricultural chemical company, and a German skincare conglomerate in 15 years. The formula you apply this summer shares nothing with what Benjamin Green made for American soldiers in 1944, nothing except the name. Brand number 4, Hawaiian Tropic, the paradise that was packaged and sold. Ron Rice founded Hawaiian Tropic in 1969 in Daytona Beach, Florida. He was a school teacher and part-time lifeguard who mixed his first batch of suntan oil in a garbage can using ingredients he sourced locally. He sold it out of his car. Within a decade, Hawaiian Tropic had grown into a multi-million-dollar brand, competing head-to-head with Coppertone and Banana Boat, sponsoring international beauty competitions, and building an entire aspirational identity around tropical sun and the American summer. Rice built the company himself, privately, for over 30 years. He ran it the way founders run things, with direct control over what went in the product and what the brand stood for. In 2007, Ron Rice sold Hawaiian Tropic to Energizer Holdings, the battery company, for $83 million, not a sunscreen company, a battery manufacturer. Energizer was moving into personal care categories at the time. Then in 2015, Edgewell Personal Care spun off from Energizer as a separate entity, taking the personal care brands with it, including Hawaiian Tropic. And that is how Hawaiian Tropic ended up at the same Connecticut-based conglomerate that already owned Banana Boat. The two biggest American beach sunscreen brands, which spent decades competing for your loyalty and your dollar, are now owned by the same company, managed by the same executive team, and increasingly sharing the same manufacturing infrastructure. That is not a coincidence. That is what industry consolidation actually looks like when you trace the acquisition documents instead of just reading the packaging. The current Hawaiian Tropic Sheer Touch SPF 70 formula, Oxybenzone at 6%, Avobenzone at 3%, octisalate octocrylene, 6% oxybenzone. The Environmental Working Group and several dermatologists have flagged oxybenzone concentrations above 4% as particularly concerning for endocrine disruption risk, especially for children and pregnant women. Hawaiian Tropic Sheer Touch is positioned as a family sunscreen. The branding shows kids. The formula contains some of the highest oxybenzone concentrations of any major retail sunscreen. You bought the Paradise Ron Rice built in a Daytona Beach garage. You are actually funding the margin projections of an Edgewell quarterly earnings call. Brand number 5, Australian Gold, the borrowed credibility. Australian Gold launched in the United States in 1985 with a very deliberate identity built on borrowed authority. Australia deals with some of the most intense UV radiation on the planet due to the depleted ozone layer over the southern hemisphere. The brand name carries a specific implication. These formulas were developed by people who understand serious sun exposure. The packaging reinforces that impression at every point. Australian Gold is owned by New Sunshine, LLC, headquartered in Indianapolis, Indiana. It is not an Australian company. It was not founded by Australians. No Australian research institution was involved in its development. The identity is constructed marketing, and it has been since 1985. That alone would not disqualify a product. Names are names, but the formula compounds the problem. The Australian Gold Sunscreen Spray SPF 30, one of the brand's most widely sold products, uses a full chemical filter stack: oxybenzone, avobenzone, octinoxate, and homosalate. That is 4 chemical filters, 2 of which the FDA has not confirmed as GRASE, and 1 of which, octinoxate, has been banned in the state of Hawaii since January 2021. Hawaii's legislature and governor looked at the science on octinoxate and decided the documented risk to coral reef reproduction was sufficient to remove it from all sunscreens sold within the state. Hawaii, a state whose economy depends on beach tourism, made a deliberate economic sacrifice to protect its marine ecosystem from this specific ingredient. New Sunshine, LLC, headquartered in Indianapolis, decided the Hawaii market was an acceptable loss and kept octinoxate in their national formula. They do sell a botanical line with a mineral zinc oxide base, but that product commands a higher retail price and represents a small fraction of their shelf presence. The mainstream line, the one on the end cap display at every Walmart and Walgreens you walk into, still contains the ingredient Hawaii banned. The botanical branding exists to create a halo effect that benefits the entire product line. You see botanical on one bottle and assume the brand takes clean formulation seriously. The label on the bottle next to it tells a different story. Now that we have walked through the 5 brands worth questioning, let me show you the 5 sunscreen brands that have actually made different choices about ingredients, about ownership, and in several cases about what kind of company they want to be. The sunscreen industry is counting on your summer habit and brand memory to override the information on the ingredient label. The next 5 brands are counting on you actually reading it. Good brand number 1. Badger Balm. W.S. Badger Company was founded in 1995 in Gilsum, New Hampshire by a carpenter named Bill White. White originally made a healing balm for his own cracked hands during winter work and began selling it at a local natural food store. The company is still family-owned. It holds B Corporation certification, meaning it meets independently verified standards for social and environmental performance. Badger's SPF 40 Sport Sunscreen Lotion contains two active ingredients, zinc oxide at 22.4% and nothing else. The inactive ingredients are sunflower oil, beeswax, castor oil, vitamin E, and golden seal root extract. That is the entire list. You can read it on camera in under 15 seconds. No oxybenzone, no homosalate, no octinoxate, no avobenzone, no aerosol propellant. Zinc oxide is one of the two ingredients the FDA classifies as GRASE, confirmed safe and effective, without qualification or condition. Badger Sport SPF 40 retails for approximately $18 for 2.9 ounces, or about $6.21 per ounce. More expensive than Coppertone at Walgreens. Spread across a summer's worth of weekend beach trips, the cost difference is a few dollars per month. You are paying for a product whose complete ingredient list you can read without a chemistry degree or a regulatory database. Good brand number 2, ThinkSport/ThinkBaby, ThinkSport, and its companion brand. ThinkBaby were created by Kevin Schwartz and John Wendell after they spent years testing athletic and baby products for a broad range of toxins. They founded Think Products in Minneapolis, Minnesota, with a specific design principle: build formulas around what they called a highest hazard avoidance standard, targeting endocrine-disrupting chemicals first. The Environmental Working Group's 2025 sunscreen guide included ThinkBaby Clear Zinc Sunscreen Lotion SPF 30 among its top-rated baby sunscreens. The active ingredient is zinc oxide at 20%. The inactive list is short, fragrance-free, and contains none of the chemical filters identified in the JAMA bloodstream absorption study. ThinkSport SPF 50 Plus retails at approximately $15.99 for 3 ounces, around $5.33 per ounce. For families with infants and young children, this is the formula that removes the specific variables the American Academy of Pediatrics asked parents to eliminate. Here's the physical test. Apply ThinkSport to one forearm and a standard chemical sunscreen lotion to the other. The ThinkSport will leave a faint white cast. The chemical sunscreen will disappear almost immediately because it is absorbing through the skin into the bloodstream. Which one you want on a 6-month-old is your decision. The FDA's 2019 GRASE classification makes the relevant distinction clear enough. Good brand number 3, Blue Lizard. Blue Lizard originated in Australia, actually Australia, not Indianapolis, as a medical-grade sunscreen line developed for the UV conditions of the Southern Hemisphere. It was acquired by Church & Dwight in 2019. Church & Dwight is the American company behind Arm & Hammer products, not a glamorous parent company. But Church & Dwight has preserved Blue Lizard's formula philosophy, and the core mineral formulas have not been reformulated since acquisition. Blue Lizard Australian Sunscreen SPF 30 Plus sensitive formula uses zinc oxide and titanium dioxide as its only active ingredients. The packaging includes a UV-sensitive cap that turns blue when you are in sunlight requiring protection. It is a functional feature built into the packaging, not decoration. The EWG has recommended Blue Lizard sensitive and baby formulas in their 2025 guide. It retails at approximately $16 for 5 ounces, about $3.20 per ounce, which makes it the most price-competitive mineral option in this list. Among the zinc and titanium dioxide formulas, that price point removes the cost barrier argument entirely. Good brand number 4, Raw Elements. Raw Elements was founded in 2011 by Brian Guadagno, a professional open-water lifeguard and ocean safety specialist who spent years searching for a sunscreen that could meet professional water safety demands, genuine water resistance, stability in direct sun, no chemical filter stack, and couldn't find one that met all 3 criteria. He developed his own formula and launched Raw Elements independently. The company is still independently owned. Raw Elements Eco Formula SPF 30 comes in a recyclable tin. The active ingredient is zinc oxide at 23%, one of the highest zinc concentrations in any commercially sold sunscreen. The inactive ingredients include coconut oil, beeswax, sunflower oil, vitamin E, green tea extract, and raspberry seed oil. The product is reef-safe, biodegradable, and certified by the Natural Products Association. It retails for approximately $18 for 3 ounces, $6 per ounce, and is available at REI, Whole Foods, and directly online. Here is something worth knowing about the tin format specifically. Avobenzone, the primary UVA filter in most chemical sunscreens, degrades when exposed to UV light and air. The tube you left open on your beach bag last summer lost effectiveness every time you opened the cap. Zinc oxide does not degrade that way. The tin keeps the formula stable from the first application to the last. You are not getting a progressively weaker product as the summer goes on. Good brand number 5. Babo Botanicals. Babo Botanicals was founded in 2010 by Kate Solomon in Rhinebeck, New York. Solomon's background was in natural and organic product development, and she built the brand specifically around infant and sensitive skin formulation from the beginning, not as an aftermarket baby line added to an existing adult product catalog. Babo Botanicals Sensitive Baby Face Mineral Sunscreen SPF 50 carries the EWG verified seal. EWG's verification process reviews the entire formulation for ingredients of concern, not just the active sunscreen ingredient. Active ingredient, zinc oxide at 20%. The product is also USDA Organic certified on specific ingredients and non-GMO project verified. It retails at approximately $22 for 2 ounces. $11 per ounce, which is the highest price per ounce in this list. For adults covering large body surface areas, that price is a real consideration. For infant facial and neck application, a small surface area where the skin barrier is thinnest and absorption rates are highest, the cost across a full summer is manageable and the formulation rationale is sound. $22 spread across a summer of weekend outings is not a luxury purchase. It is a decision about what you are willing to put on skin that absorbs differently than yours does. Here is where we land. You are not being paranoid. You are not being pulled into wellness industry alarmism. You are reading FDA recall documents with specific lot codes and dates, JAMA studies designed and funded by the FDA's own scientists, and regulatory classifications the agency published in 2019 and has not walked back since. The brands I walked you through today are not failing because of bad intentions from the people who originally founded them. They are failing because corporations that manufacture batteries, pharmaceutical drugs, and agricultural chemicals acquired them, and the formula decisions that followed those acquisitions reflect corporate cost structures, not the standards the original founders built. Your family deserves to make this decision with the actual information in front of them, not the information the sunscreen display at Target chooses to show them. The 5 alternatives, Badger, ThinkSport, Blue Lizard, Raw Elements, and Babo Botanicals, are not difficult to find. Most are available at Whole Foods, REI, Target's Natural Beauty section, and through Amazon Prime delivery. The price difference across an entire summer amounts to less than one family dinner out. If this video changes what you reach for before your next beach trip, share it with one other parent. That is the only number that matters to me. And if you want to know which cooking oil brands quietly switched from pure olive oil to blended seed oil, blends without changing a word on the front of the label, that video is coming next week. Subscribe and hit the notification bell, because the companies in that video are definitely not going to want you to see it.